The August 27th, welcome back. 2026 meeting of the San Diego Community College Board of Trustees is hereby called to order. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. This meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format with board members and meeting presenters participating in person. Others are participating remotely via Zoom. We also welcome any members of our district community and the members of the public who are viewing the meeting live via YouTube. The board is open to receiving public comments. If anyone is interested in doing so, this is our procedure. To address the board, please fill out a comment card available on the side of the room or from the board recording secretary. If anyone participating remotely would like to make public comment, please email boardoffice@sdccd.edu for further direction. In December 2023, our board adopted a district-wide land acknowledgement to publicly recognize that the land we occupy is the unceded territory and ancestral homeland of the Kumeyaay people. Miramar College student trustee Michael Fusey will now read the district's land acknowledgement. Student trustee.
Thank you, Board President. The San Diego Community College District and its 4 colleges acknowledge the land we occupy is the unceded territory and ancestral homeland of the Kumeyaay people, where they have lived for over 10,000 years. We honor and value the stewardship, knowledge, and cultural worldview of the Kumeyaay people and their commitment to protection and preservation of the land and their culture. As institutions of higher education, we are responsible for providing our Indigenous community members with access, belonging, and success in their educational pursuits with an environment that celebrates their culture. We are responsible for educating all our community members about Indigenous histories and culture. We are responsible for examining and taking action to address the injustices of colonization and occupation, which have perpetrated harm against Indigenous, Black, Brown, and other communities. Through this acknowledgement, we honor the Kumeyaay people and express our commitment to truth and respect as the foundation of our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. And could you please now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Board President. Please stand. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always ending with someday.
We have one readout from closed session. The board has returned from closed session with the following actions to report. Under item 202 of the closed session agenda, on a motion by trustee Maria Nieto Sr. and seconded by trustee Marichu Magaña, the board approved the disciplinary action of expelling a San Diego Mesa College student number 082761-224-8368-26 from all colleges, campuses, programs, sites, and activities of the San Diego Community College District pursuant to California Education Section 72122 and 20 USC Section 1232G. The vote was unanimous. Everyone has had a chance to review the minutes provided. Are there any additions or corrections? No. We see none. The minutes stand approved. Are there any items to remove from the agenda?
We do not have any items to remove from tonight.
Thank you, Chancellor. The consent calendar allows the Board of Trustees to vote on a group of items that are routine, standard, non-controversial, or self-explanatory. As always, any items in section 9, board policies, and 10, new business, will automatically be pulled for discussion, as will section 16, information items. Are there any items to pull for discussion in section 11? Just have 1101. Section 12, student services. 1201. Section 13, 1301. Section 14, human resources 1406. And as has been usually the case for 15 under facilities, buildings and real estate, we have 150203, 15.15, 16, 1517, and 18. Does the academic senate wish to pull any items at this time? Thank you. May I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Second. Moved by trustee Nieto Senior, second by trustee Jamison. Will the board members please vote? Item passes unanimously. The board is open to receiving public comments. This is a public comment period of the board agenda. If anyone participating remotely would like to make public comment, please email boardoffice@sdccd.edu for further direction. Remarks are limited to 4 minutes or 32 minutes for a group speaking on the same subject, which will be monitored by the board secretary. Unless it's an emergency, no action will be taken at this board meeting, but your concerns will be referred to the chancellor and you will be notified of the chancellor's findings and recommendations. Before we have the public comments read, we will call on the academic senates first. Do we have our representative from City College, academic president Nick Slingley? Awesome, welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's an honor to be able to come up here and serve the faculty from City College and provide updates. I'm a little nervous because this is the first time I've done so. But there's not too much to say because this is the first week of the semester, but a couple of things of note. We got off to a good start last week with our Flex Week. There are a couple of events of note that I attended were Convocation, which is always a good, it's a good meeting place for all of the employees at the same time. We went over our shared goals, which is always it always helps us really get the year off to the right, on the right foot. And we brought up the idea that we want to continue to support students in areas of belonging and identity. We want to make sure that our students have access to excellent education, and we want to make sure that that we continue to include everyone in our plans for building for the future. There's a lot of excitement about the various projects due to the bond measure, and in particular, people are really excited about student housing projects, for example. As we start with the Academic Senate this year, we'll be working early on. We'll be working on program goals. We're in a kind of a program review cycle. We're in a new cycle for our group, and so that's kind of exciting. We've got one goal that's pretty much already identified, and that'll be dedicated to improving accessibility through what we do at the Academic Senate. So trying to provide a really good example for faculty on how you make everything as accessible as possible and keep track of anything that you're having trouble with. And so at least we've identified one of our program goals for this year, and I think that's a good start. But that's what I have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we go to Mesa College Academic President Mary Wynn. Welcome.
Okay, good afternoon. As you know, classes started this week, and this is one of the happiest times of the year on campus. It's great to meet the students and the new faculty and staff. Our Senate hasn't met yet, so I don't have anything to report regarding Senate business. Our first executive meeting is next Monday, the 31st. So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about some of the things going on campus. And the first thing I want to talk about is our study abroad program. So I'm really proud to share that Mesa College students got to do this summer in London and Madrid. Over 50 students participated in an educational and cultural experience that has prepared them for the workforce and enhanced cultural sensitivity. Statistically, this experience is proven to provide higher salaries in their future professions. Our fashion students traveled to London, where they were able to experience one of the world's greatest fashion and design capitals firsthand. At the same time, our Spanish students studied in Madrid, where they took their language learning outside the classroom and into the everyday life, culture, and rhythms of Spain. The students come home with a lot more than academic knowledge. They return with greater confidence, independence, curiosity, and a broader understanding of the world, becoming change makers in their future endeavors. This experience replaces life challenges with personal confidence and supports students to move forward through their personal and professional lives. These are the kinds of experiences that stay with students long after they leave Mesa, and I'm incredibly grateful to our faculty and staff who make these opportunities possible, and I'm proud that we continue to do this. Mesa also led the planning and promotion of the San Diego Mexican Consulate's Semana Binacional de Educación Week, Binational Education Week, building on a partnership established in November 2025 to connect community members with educational resources and opportunities. This event brought together universities, community colleges, K through 12 schools, adult education programs, ESL providers, workforce training organizations, and other community partners to highlight educational and career pathways. Attendees received information on academic programs, support services, and training opportunities. As a result, participants increased their awareness of available educational opportunities, connected directly with local institutions, and gained valuable information to support their academic and career goals. Also, there's a lot here. We had our last AAPI Community of Practice earlier this month, and I feel lucky to have been able to participate in it. It was delightful personally, and I learned a lot about how to better serve our AAPI community of students. AAPI stands for, if you don't know, Asian American Pacific Islander. I say it's our last because, as you know, the money, the soft money for Anapeasy has run out, and it takes money to do these kinds of things. However, I believe that this work will continue in one form or another on our campus through the Copra Learning Community, the AAPI Men of Color Community of Practice, and the AAPI Advisory Committee. It's my understanding that ANAPI SAP state funding has become the primary funding source for these projects and will continue. And I just want to share one of the big ideas that I got from being in this community for the short amount of time that, well, I guess I'm still in it. But one of the things I took away from it is this idea of cooperation is resistance. And one thing that I can say for sure is that our campus is committed to breaking down the systemic barriers of oppression that affect the AAPI community and others. And I believe that through our cooperative action, we can keep this work serving these students going. Somewhat relatedly, the Mesa Art Gallery has its first exhibition of the semester going on now, started on Monday through November 17th. The title of the exhibition is Future Flower, Memory, Meaning, and Mischief. And this is the debut exhibition of Vietnamese American artist Thao Nguyen French, who just completed 2 murals for the KUP Village in the Student Services Building. This exhibit will show the murals within the context of her other works, which deal with identity and her experience as a refugee and an immigrant. And somewhat related to that, I've become aware of an issue with parking for this event and future events for the gallery and other events on campus. I understand that there will be stricter parking enforcement of pay per hour and pay per day parking requirements for guests visiting our campus. And while I understand the need for consistent parking procedures, I'm concerned that this will create unintended barriers for the students, families, community members, prospective students, guest speakers, artists, and other visitors. Requiring payment for gallery events like this seems inconsistent with our commitment to access, equity, and community engagement. I'm really hoping that this can get resolved, and I understand people are working on it, but it came as a surprise. Faculty learned about it Wednesday, about that people coming to visit the exhibition are expected to pay. So there's that. Finally, we're looking forward as a campus to an upcoming campus budget meeting on October 5th. There are still budget issues and new processes that faculty don't have a good understanding of. And while I think progress is being made, students are still impacted. So for example, this first week, faculty in my school alone had to deal with equipment failures on equipment that needs to be replaced. There was also an issue with software not being purchased for classes. Both of these situations create hardships for students, particularly the software issue, which to my understanding has been resolved for now. And over the summer, we had 2 budget allocation committee retreat meetings to redevelop the budget committee on our campus. And I was graciously invited to these meetings as a guest. And I can see the effort that's being put into making the budget process more transparent. But it's my opinion, we still have a lot of work to do to make that process transparent and create a process where faculty can have input and deans can understand what's going on. The faculty are being told to work with our deans, but if our deans don't have the information we need, we don't have the equipment or software we need, that doesn't help much. I have been assured, though, that the goal is to address immediate needs while developing a transparent, comprehensive, and strategic approach to our longer-term instructional technology investments. I really hope this can be realized across our campus. Thank you.
Now, we have Connect President Rodrigo Gomez from Miramar College. Oh, right here. Okay. Nice to see you in person.
Yes, yes, usually online. Great to be here in person. So hello, Board, Chancellor Smith. It's great to be here with you, and it was great to have Chancellor Smith and President Arroyo deliver the opening remarks for Miramar's convocation. So thank you all for your inspirational words. It was a great turnout, and it led to this wonderful buzz that's back on campus. So it's nice to feel that energy. We also have not had our first Senate meeting, so I wanted to start with some positive news that I've heard about our campus. One of those is that we received Miramar College Mental Health and Wellness Services Department has received the 2026 Excellence in Mental Health and Wellbeing Award from Insights into Academia magazine. The Excellence in Mental Health and Wellbeing Award is a measure of an institution's individual programs and initiatives that significantly advances core values of student and employee mental health and well-being throughout programs, initiatives, and other campus priorities deserving this national recognition. San Diego Miramar College is the only community college in the state of California to be recognized on the list. Miramar College will be featured along with 37 other recipients in the September 2026 issue of the magazine, and it reflects Miramar's commitment to making student well-being an essential foundation of student success. We will also be having our Equity Summit. It's coming up October 2nd from 10 to 2 p.m. We'll be featuring keynote Dr. Mohammed Soriano Bilal. We hope everyone can make it if you are available. Please register on the website. Regarding Senate, our first meeting will be September 1st, and I'm looking forward to getting started on the hard work we'll take on the semester. Some of it is important work left over from last semester, for example, concerning Miramar's approach to agentic AI. As you recall, Miramar Senate has already passed 2 resolutions on AI, one defining AI literacy, adapting the ASCCC's definition, and one recommending clear student support in the form of clear AI guidelines and student course policies. In my own courses, I'm including a small section in each assignment that outlines how students may or may not use AI for a specific task. For Miramar, I'd also like to say that addressing agentic AI is particularly important because we already have it on our campus via the Learning Management System Element 451. Regarding AI on campus, I'm also happy to report that our students are moving forward to establish an AI club at Miramar College, for which I will be the advisor. I'm also happy to share that Miramar's response to the memorandum from the State Chancellor's Office for building local frameworks on AI. This came through in an email a little while ago. And just to read a key recommendation, the key recommendation or action for each college and district is to develop or strengthen a consultative, locally designed AI teaching and learning framework that provides clear guidance for students and faculty, distinguishes institutional guardrails from faculty determined course level expectations, protects equity and student rights, and establishes a process for ongoing review as technologies, workforce expectations, and instructional practices evolve. The Chancellor's Office Academic Affairs team will work with colleges and districts to share and highlight effective local frameworks in spring 2027. So this memorandum is really pointing to work that we did at the college last semester through what we're calling the Miramar AI Network, which brought together dozens of educators from across the disciplines to discuss AI critically and objectively in a dual community of inquiry and community of practice, where our group framed the AI conversation in such a way as the memorandum suggests, emphasizing much of what is mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a good academic year, and now we go to the College of Continuing Education, Academic President, Richard Weinroth. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. Really, like the other Senate President said, our Senates haven't met yet, so I look forward to another year of getting to serve. It's always an honor to be the representative of our Senate. What I will say is our faculty are working really hard, and it's been really hot. And that's made it really uncomfortable for the students as well as the faculty. I know there are places the air has actually gone out and they've had fans be rushed in. We're grateful when that can happen. They can get fans, and even more grateful when they fix the HVAC. In addition to that, we are at the Academic Senate. We're going to be putting together a committee for the ongoing review and recommendations for screening and hiring process committee. So that is something that we look forward to doing. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you. Nice evening. We will call next on the classified senates for their update.
College of Continuing Education President Esther Anthony Thomas is interested in speaking. She's having some problems. So the vote, we move on to, I recommend that we move on to the other public comment and then come back and hope that she
Okay. Sounds great. So has anyone fill out a comment card?
Yes, we have 4 people that have filled out comment cards, 1 on a specific agenda item, 3 on non-agenda items. We will start with Mark Gerbiel.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and Chancellor Smith. I come here to provide a regular update on some of the activities relevant to the board about SPA. I would like to give a brief update on our progress with collective bargaining agreement negotiations and highlight to the board a couple of ways you may have not been aware of on how SPA helps the district's mission to advance student success. A brief update on our CBA. We are again presenting and negotiating an entire collective bargaining agreement. Over the past few months, SPA has been using all of the time allotted in our 4-hour sessions to present articles and discuss initial questions the district may have. To date, we have presented 13 articles totaling 90 pages. For reference, the district's handbook for SPAs, the district's handbook for SPA has 64 pages of content. We are excited for our upcoming CBA negotiation session on September 3rd as we continue to share more CBA content. And this will also be our first session at a college site, SDCCE's West City campus, where we find, like the district has in many ways, the importance of hosting these sessions across the college and district spaces. We also look forward, once done introducing content for our CBA, to using those sessions to hammer out sections and details that can be agreed upon while waiting for the district's comprehensive CBA counter. Just wanted to provide a little update on this enormity of the work that really we have just begun with the district. Next, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight 2 ways that SPA members are contributing to the district in supporting student success. The first member I would like to talk about is Kurt Self, a senior systems administrator on the technical services team. He was key in resolving a critical security vulnerability in Oracle systems that was reported by the California Community College's Security Center. He was quickly able to resolve a critical security issue before any issues on our district was seen. And then SDCCD was highlighted as the fastest district to resolve the issue, closing the vulnerability in less than half a day from the report. And I quote from the CCC Security Center, SDCCD responded to the June 11th alert and achieved full remediation within 24 hours. Both perimeter blocking and people tools patching completed on June 12th. This is the fastest remediation of a critical PeopleSoft finding in this assessment program. The second thing I want to share about Kurt was that he was critical in adding a new convenient way to reset passwords for students. SDCCD has added a password reset method for students to use their personal email in addition to their MFA method. This should be helping our new and returning students get access to the necessary systems for their studies. The second person I wanted to highlight is SPA member Magale Corro Flores. She is a student services support officer at San Diego City College's Undocumented Resource Center. In partnership with the district, she submitted a formal statewide funding request to the California Community College's Chancellor's Office and was invited to participate in Advocacy Day in Sacramento, where she met with legislators to advocate for increased support for undocumented students. These efforts contributed to securing $15 million and $70 million in one-time state funding allocation for Dreamer Resource Liaisons and undocumented student support initiatives across California community colleges. This advocacy addressed the need for dedicated resources, direct student support, and services for undocumented students who often have limited access to financial aid and other support systems due to their immigration status. And also, she was appointed to the Chancellor's Office Undocumented Advisory Committee to represent this for Southern California region. These are two stories that I want to share with the board. And again, as I said in different committees, there's lots to celebrate about what's happening across the district. And so with this, I wanted to share some of the stories we're seeing by our members, as well, so that we can understand how important the different efforts are happening across the district and understand later on that when we have conversation, understand when we're seeing the need to delete these type of things, we can understand why are we deleting when we are serving more students and we see the critical needs they have through student supports and instructional support services. Thank you for this time and opportunity to provide an update today.
Our next speaker is Monica Romero.
Good afternoon, Chancellor and members of the Board of Trustees. On behalf of the San Diego Management Association, we're pleased to provide this update as we remain committed to partnership, transparency, and constructive dialogue in support of managers, employees, and students across SDCCD. Since we last presented, SDMA has continued its work on several priorities affecting managers across the district. We recently welcomed LaShawn Duhart, Miramar's Veterans and Military Director, to the Board of Directors, filling a board vacancy and strengthening representation across SDCCD. On July 16th, SDMA held its general membership meeting to discuss current issues, gather member input, and provide updates on compensation discussions, management handbook activities, and board initiatives. We value these opportunities for members to engage directly with the work of the association and share perspectives on matters impacting managers throughout SDCCD. SDMA recently executed a side letter with SDCCD extending the current management handbook while parties are preparing for upcoming meet and confer discussions. The side letter ensures continuity for managers, including several important updates, clarification of in lieu of holiday language, continuation of the management retirement incentive, and additional benefits for retirees related to parking and email access. We appreciate the collaborative efforts of the employee relations team in reaching this agreement. We're also pleased that SDMA, Board of Directors, and Chancellor Smith have initiated quarterly meetings to discuss important issues to the membership of management. These meetings create an ongoing opportunity for meaningful dialogue, collaborative problem solving, and proactive discussions of concerns and opportunities affecting managers across SDCCD. This first meeting will be held on September 2nd, and we're very excited. This is very relevant to the review that SDMA is currently underway of the salary study and looks forward to discussing regarding management compensation, recruitment, retention, and competitiveness within the region. The data provides valuable information as we work to support and retain effective managers and leaders throughout SDCCD. We would also like to thank the Chancellor for his meeting with the managers, where he shared his core values on education, employment, housing, and healthcare. The interactive nature of the discussion allowed managers to ask questions and engage in dialogue. And lastly, SDMA would like to thank the members of the SDCCD Police Department. Many of our managers, particularly those on the campuses, work daily with the department on issues of student and employee safety. We applaud their work and recognize the importance of this unique department and what it brings to SDCCD. Thank you.
Yep. Our next speaker is via Zoom. It is Mona Alsoremi Espiritu. You should be able to unmute yourself now and address the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Bet you weren't expecting to see me this soon. I wasn't expecting to be here, but hello again, members of the board and Chancellor Smith. Today I'm just here as a faculty member to share my concern about the new requirement that faculty distribution email lists go through an approval process before reaching our colleagues. I have shared this with several other people, administrators, but I wanted to bring this to a larger context because it does affect all employees. So first, I'll briefly explain that what change is happening. What's happening is that the district is expanding an approval process that requires emails sent to faculty distribution lists to be reviewed and approved by designated individuals before they're delivered to faculties. So what this looks like is instead of being able to communicate directly with our colleagues, for example, all contract employees or adjuncts, the messages now go through a gatekeeper who has the authority to approve or reject them. In fact, when you start to send a message to one of these groups, you immediately get a little box pops up that says this exactly message is sent to DL for blank faculty, like maybe city faculty, are moderated. They may be rejected or delayed. I understand the need for cybersecurity and responsible use of district email, but I am very concerned about what happens when security measures give individuals the authority to decide which communications are allowed to reach faculty. We are professionals. We should be trusted to communicate with our colleagues about campus events, professional activities, shared governance, work conditions, and issues that affect us. Unfortunately, I have personally experienced legitimate communications being delayed or denied through the existing approval process, even when those messages followed the guidelines. Other faculty have experienced the same thing. The problem is that when the approval process is not consistent, and when any kind of approval process is put in place that involves a human approver, that gives the option for someone to decide what's appropriate and not appropriate. Even if the intention is not to censor, that can be the effect. And there's consequences. When faculty know that someone has the power to determine whether or not their communication reaches their colleagues, people naturally become more cautious about what they say and share. And this has a chilling effect. It erodes faculty trust in administration, and it undermines a sense of respect that we should have as professionals. Okay, I'm particularly concerned because faculty leaders like myself, just last year, were previously told that this type of approval would not apply to faculty distribution lists just last year when another approval process went into effect. But now we're being told without any discussion or feedback opportunities that this is being implemented as part of a process that began years ago. If that is the case, I think it's reasonable to ask why faculty were not given a meaningful opportunity this time to weigh in on this specific change before it was implemented like the last one. Why is there a rush, and why are we why the refusal to solicit feedback from the employees who these changes will impact most? It feels like top-down authoritarian hierarchical decision-making, and that is never good for employee morale and district trust. I'm not asking the district to ignore security concerns. I'm just asking the district to find a way to address these concerns transparently and without creating a system that gives some individuals unnecessary control over faculty communication. Please consider the message this sends to faculty. Do you trust us to communicate professionally, or do you believe our communication needs to be approved and censored before our colleagues are allowed to receive them? Trust is built by treating us, faculty, and all employees like professionals. I respectfully ask the board to push to reconsider this approval process, seek meaningful input rather than implementing rushed top-down decisions, and ensure that vague security measures are never used as a mechanism for restricting legitimate faculty communication. Thank you so much for your time.
You and our next speaker is Narelle Martinez. Again, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm also here to speak against the new policy on the faculty DL moderation. I want to echo what my colleague Mona just stated here. But I also want you to consider first how exhausted faculty are and our tremendous workload. And so this just adds another barrier to what we're doing. We're oftentimes running around doing so many things, and we need to send a notification out through the DL, and then I have experienced personally the way in which it lags. People don't approve it. And we need to promote events and get the message out as soon as possible. And because we're so exhausted and overworked, oftentimes we wait until the last minute, as much as we don't want to do that. And so I would like for the board and the chancellor and administrators to take that into consideration. I also want to say that when I was a UCSD graduate student and as a doctoral student in the literature department, students started to speak out about our lack of support and work conditions. And we did that through the DL. And what the first thing that administration did was they implemented the same policy of moderation. So of moderating the DL and approving messages as soon as that occurred. And I just don't think it's a coincidence that this policy comes one semester, the following semester, after faculty expressed concerns over our low salaries, our work conditions, and our dissatisfaction with the union contract through the DL. I actually think this is very intentional. And I think that just in general, faculty have been exploited and disrespected in so many other ways. And this further sends the message that you don't trust us, that you want to silence our communication with each other, that we have to be policed. And frankly, the majority of our communication is really just to promote events such as professional development or extra credit opportunities for our students. That's really most of our communication. So if the board cares, if the chancellor cares, if the administration cares about us, about not advancing an authoritarian policy, I ask that you put this on hold and you give faculty an opportunity to give feedback, and perhaps we can come up with something together. This is the spirit of shared governance. And as I also want to add that dissent and disagreement is not it shouldn't be seen as a threat. It should be actually, that's what higher education is about. It's about critical thinking and not just passively taking the policies that administrators decide upon top down and passively accept them. And this is what we teach our students in the classroom, and this is what I think people at the top of this institution should also value. Thank you.
That concludes all of the non-agenda item public comment. We do have one commenter on item 10.02. So we will be able to hear that first.
Okay, thank you. So, and then any update on the representative from Classified Senate?
She still has not rejoined the meeting.
Okay. Do we have any call for presentations by any exclusive agents representing employees?
We do not, but I believe there is a statement for you to read.
There is a statement. Thank you. At the August 27, 2026 meeting of the San Diego Community College District Board of Trustees, a Police Officers Association representative presented the initial proposal from the POA for the successor collective bargaining agreement with the Police Officers Association. Section 3547 of the Government Code requires the San Diego Community College District to also publicly sunshine initial proposals by placing them as an open agenda item for review and comment by the public. Initial proposals from both parties are attached for public review and comment. Okay, so I can move on to section 8. Right. Chancellor Smith, please give us your report on communication statewide and legislative issues.
We are in the final days of the state legislative calendar. It's a very busy time up in Sacramento. And the last day for each house to pass bills. The last day for each house to pass bills is Monday, the 31st, and then the Assembly and Senate immediately go into recess when they adjourn. While there are many bills of interest that are currently up for vote in both houses, the bills addressing the California Community College Baccalaureate degree program have become a high priority for the governor, the Senate, and the Assembly, specifically AB 2694, which was introduced by Assemblymember Alvarez, and Senate Bill 960, introduced by Senator Cabaldon, which would make duplication in baccalaureate degrees a regional issue instead of a statewide issue, meaning the only CSU campus that could contest one of our proposed degree offerings would be San Diego State or CSU San Marcos, not, for example, as happened at Mesa College, San Bernardino. Those bills have passed through committees and initial floor votes in the House and Senate, and then the governor's office convened negotiation on the bills. And this has all happened over the last 2 weeks. The state chancellor's office has been invited to participate in those negotiations of the bills, but the specific language under discussion has been kept confidential and we have not seen it. What has been reported is very concerning. First, we understand the proposal would establish tiers that are based on historical student success outcomes that would restrict the number of baccalaureate degrees a district could offer. So in effect, they would ration access to baccalaureate programs across the state. Second, the tiers would put caps on the number of degrees that a district can offer, up to a maximum of 10 if you're in the highest tier, and 2 if you're in the lowest tier. This would be especially problematic for us because the cap is by district, not by college, meaning that a single college district such as Palomar just to our north could offer 10 degrees, and cumulatively all 3 of our credit colleges could only offer 10 degrees. Third and finally, the UC system would have absolute veto power over any degree that we proposed, no process, no justification, no appeal. And the CSU system would have an appeal process by which they could object to a proposed degree that we offer. And we would not have any recourse or appeal process to the denial of a degree program or the decision on their appeal, which sounds very much like it would politicize the entire process. It would not help the current situation at all. We previously have supported both of these bills, the elimination of statewide duplication concerns, but in their present form, I don't see how we could possibly support them. And so we have signed on to a letter with the majority of districts in our system opposing the bills if they are ultimately amended in this way. I understand we'll likely see published language on the amendments. It may be up right now as I speak. It wasn't when I checked earlier today, maybe tomorrow. There's a 72-hour posting notice before the vote on Monday. So by end of day tomorrow, we can expect to see it. I would just summarize all this as, the community college baccalaureate degree programs have been shown across the country to expand access, period. They do not compete with 4-year degree programs. Washington and Florida that have had no duplication restrictions for 2 decades now, have not shown any decline in enrollment in their four-year universities as a result. They have just shown people who otherwise did not have an opportunity to go to college had an opportunity. So this will be a focal point of my legislative advocacy work. I'll have additional updates on this in a couple of weeks at our September meetings and our October meeting as the final bills make their way over to the governor to be signed. So I'll do a more comprehensive update on other bills of interest at our next meeting, and this concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. And we're gonna start with the report of the trustees, and we start with student trustee Michael Fusi.
Thank you, Board President. For the San Diego City College, the Associate Student Government is taking steps towards making student resources and benefits more accessible. Company Kitchen, a catering vendor, has agreed to provide a 12% discount for ASG-related purchases and has also secured an additional incentive for students when they purchase their AES stickers. For the San Diego Mesa College, on July 24th, 2026, they hosted an inaugural Olympian Open, raising more than $73,000 to provide essential resources for Mesa student athletes. For the San Diego Miramar College, on September 1st, the college will host a pizza night at Campus Point to provide pizza to students taking night classes. On September 2nd, Miramar College's Mental Health Counseling Center will provide students with information on Living Works training and other resources in commemoration of Suicide Prevention Month. Miramar College's Pride Center will also be hosting a Rainbow Connections, a welcome mixer for students to mingle and connect. For San Diego College of Continuing Education, on July 29th, 2026, the West City campus invited the community to be a maker for a day and hosted a free clothing and textile arts activity where they could make their own creations and explore the process of textile manufacturing. That concludes my report.
Thank you for joining us. Trustee Nieto Senior?
Yes, the only activity that I've been really engaged with in the last month that relates to us is in helping to get the Progressive Caucus moving forward. And as you know, Greg is our main CEO that's involved with this, so that's terrific. And I'm in the process of recruiting board members from other districts to see if they would like to join. And if you're interested in being a member of that, just send me some kind of message. You don't have to, you can text it or whatever, and I'll let people, you know, I'll pass it on that you'd like to be part of the Progressive Caucus. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. Trustee Jameson?
I wanted to thank everyone that has been reaching out to me and sending their condolences and their thoughts and their prayers. I also wanted to say thank you to AFT for reaching out to me as well. And I just got a beautiful card from the Mesa Academic Senate, so thank you as well. I'm looking forward to being back. Happy fall semester, everyone. It's the most exciting time of the year, other than graduation season. But yeah, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Milgram?
Good evening, or is it afternoon? It's afternoon. Still the afternoon. I'm going to use my time to talk about Proposition B, which is a proposition that is being supported for a half-cent countywide sales tax. The money that comes from this will, in simplest terms, go to replace and replace the money that we're losing as a result of actions of the federal government, as well as augmenting those same monies. I became aware of this through my contacts with folks in an organization called Child First San Diego. I've started working with these folks during COVID when we're doing the San Diego reopening, and I've continued to do that. One of the members, Courtney Baltiski, is on our trustee advisory council. And so this is my connection, as I've said a number of times, with childcare and so forth. So, I would like to request that the board, I'd like to request that Chancellor Smith have staff create a resolution to support the proposition and provide that to the other board members for their consideration and input, and then bring it forward for approval at the September 12th board meeting. So, do I need to do anything else? Nope. And I had a great lunch with President Shabazz, and I hope to have more with the other presidents. And by the way, anybody else that wants to have lunch with me? I also enjoy hearing directly from folks on the campuses.
Ditto.
Thank you.
If anyone wants to meet with me, just let me know. I've always done that.
Yeah, we don't have to have lunch. We can just have coffee or something. No pressure.
Thank you.
Because he's not a morning person.
Now we're gonna hear from trustee Magaña.
Hello, everyone. Did a little bit of traveling during summer. I went to Japan with my daughter. It was super hot, but beautiful and very orderly, which tags along with Mary's comments about study abroad. I know they went to London and Madrid, but I also know someone else, one of the other colleges is going to Chile, or they did. And I know that Miramar sent people to Australia. And I 100% support all the efforts that each of the colleges does to send our students to study abroad, because it does open up a whole different perspective on life here in San Diego, as well as what's available outside of San Diego. And it does improve outcomes because I've seen students and talked to them. But the more important thing that Mary, you touched on, was the students' broader outlook of the world and how they see themselves in the world. So, thank you.
Thank you, trustee Magaña. Very well said. And that leaves me to provide my report. I was looking at my calendar and, we had a special board meeting, a retreat, but I think I haven't been here since, we went to Pride. That was really, really, really fun and really, really hot too. We miss you, trustee Magaña. And you all mentioned, the academic senate presidents, the convocations and the beginning of the academic year. And it was my pleasure and my honor to be with you, celebrating, our employees, kicking off things on a high note. It's always really very exciting to be at our campuses. So thank you for the warm welcoming and thank you for all you do. And then last Friday, I was also able to attend the new hiring at City College. It happened in the evening and it was just lovely to see, the celebration of the new folks that are gonna be joining the ranks of City College. So thank you, President Ricky Shabazz and his whole team for hosting that. And they brought their families, and their kids, and the chancellor was there. So it was really, really great to be there. And I just want to say, I hope you'll have a great academic year. I heard that the academic senates have not been able to meet. So good luck with that. And, we look forward to hearing from you in September again. So with that, we're going to move to the report of the chancellor. Did I forget?
Welcome back, everyone. Can't believe it's only the first 4 days of the new semester. We have hit the ground running. I want to highlight some of the comments I shared at convocation at all 4 colleges last week for all of the board members and those who may not have been able to attend. which was first a bit of a reflection on the 25-26 year, which on most conventional metrics of community college performance was a highly successful year for us. We have finished the year over 40,000 full-time equivalent students across our 4 colleges. We haven't been at that level since 2018. That's 4 consecutive years of significant enrollment growth and a reflection of tremendous work among our faculty, our classified professionals, administrators across the colleges, and the support services here in the district office. More impressive than that, though, is in 25-26, district-wide, we had a 20% increase in the associate's degrees that were earned by our students over the prior year. And many of those students did high school fully online during COVID, and a lot of articles were written about learning loss and a generation of students unprepared for higher education. So I'd say our faculty and our students were ready for that challenge, and just a phenomenal outcome. As a result, our general fund unrestricted budget remains very healthy. We saw an increase in revenue due to the advocacy we undertook to increase growth funding in our state budget. The budget the governor signed, as I shared at our July meeting, was favorable for community colleges in many respects. And as a result, our fundamentals are very strong. And I mentioned at convocations that I had asked our college presidents for the instructional investments that we need to be making. We have a number of services that have been provided to support instruction and students with one-time funds, such as our COVID-19 block grant from a couple of years ago that were expiring. And I had heard consistently from faculty across our colleges the importance of the services that were being provided and the need to backfill those. And at convocation, I wasn't yet ready to share, but Dan Troy and I met earlier, and I squeezed a few more dollars out of him and sent this morning to each of the presidents and some of our district vice chancellors significant investments that we will make this year. I mean, the presidents are going to have an opportunity to review that with their teams and come back and perhaps edit the things that I allocated for, but things like embedded tutoring support, ILTs and IAs in the classroom, but really making sure that we're leveraging this opportunity have with a healthy budget and a growth in revenue to invest in areas that have not been fully supported due to budget constraints that we had as a result of the Great Recession and the challenges we had with the ERP implementation from 2015 to 2019. So we start 26-27 in a really healthy place in many respects, and that allows us to work on improving what we do well and addressing what we need to improve on. And look forward to the presidents announcing out to their colleges what specific additional allocations those funds will make for them. Since our last board meeting, as President Arroyo mentioned, it's been, I think, 6 weeks, so a lot has happened. I had an opportunity to go to the Board of Governors back in July and present on the impacts of the budget at their meeting, which was a great opportunity to help shape their understanding of how these decisions impact our district locally and our students and our faculty. I was invited to the California Student Aid Commission to present at their board retreat on the successful advocacy we had to increase the age limit for students to transfer from a community college to a four-year university and retain their Cal Grant entitlement. That goes from age 28 to age 30 beginning next year. And while that is a small change, it's a very significant one because the median age of our students is 28. And every year we have dozens, if not hundreds of students that lose thousands of dollars in financial aid support simply because they turned 28 before they transferred. I also was able to attend the initial kickoff of the LGBTQ plus advisory committee at the chancellor's office, joined by Neil Kovrig from the College of Continuing Presented. The most significant decision that we made at that meeting was the formula by which the $30 million in LGBTQ plus support funding will be allocated, and was successful in convincing the group that the base allocation to the colleges is significant and needs to be the highest level of investment possible, because that is how colleges fund people doing the work. And the previous funding levels I thought were too low, particularly for smaller single college districts. We've done a great job in our district being able to maximize those resources, but participating in a statewide conversation was really helpful. And then that'll set the stage for advocacy to get that funding to be ongoing rather than one time. And on that, I want to follow up on what Mark shared about Magali's work and advocacy for the undocumented student resource centers. We were successful in getting $70 million one time. And so now we pick up this year with advocacy on turning that into ongoing funding. As Monica Romero shared, I was able to convene virtually all of our managers district-wide earlier this month in a meeting. And at the recommendation of the Management Association executive team, turned the first 2 hours of that into open Q&A. And so we had robust dialogue and back and forth. But what I want to share with the board is this is going to be an ongoing, a routine thing that I do, periodically meeting with all of our managers, coming together and working on building a strong culture of cross collaboration and supporting our students and each other in the various ways that our managers lead in our district. I want to close with some bargaining updates, and in particular leverage this time to address some rumors that I've heard swirling that are not true, and want to get ahead of that before they swirl any further. One is I was asked earlier this week if the negotiations on the classified reduced work week proposal would result in us closing the colleges on Friday permanently and canceling all instruction. No, that will not happen. So if you have been told by anybody that that's what is going to happen, that is not true. And the foundation of those negotiations has been, is there a way to reduce the classified work week and others without diminishing support for instruction, the availability of instruction to our students? That is a fundamental piece of that negotiation conversation, and in part why it's taken multiple years to have it. So everybody know that in no way would any agreement on this reduce services for support for instruction or the availability of instruction for students. We are reaching the final stages, I hope, of that negotiation. The district will in short order be delivering its first formal counter proposal to the AFT classified professionals, which I shared at convocation as well. Also grateful that we have opened our faculty contract negotiations. I've heard a number of interests and concerns from faculty over the last couple of years, and we now have the appropriate space to engage in those conversations and start to bring solutions and ideas to the table. So we'll work to get that done as quickly as possible, but there are a large number of items under negotiation, so that may take some time. We will also be very quickly reaching out to each of our bargaining units and meet and confer units to negotiate the implementation of the 14-week paid pregnancy disability leave requirement that was part of this budget. The statutory COLA in the budget was 2.87%. The governor in the final budget approved an additional 1.44 contingent on implementing that paid leave benefit. And so we have to work in partnership with our bargaining units on exactly what that looks like. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to initiate that within the next couple of days and complete it quickly, and then be able to announce to everyone what the outcomes of those are. But I know there's mutual interest on getting this done and doing it to the maximum benefit of all employees. And finally, I want to address that we do not have a resource allocation formula agreement in place right now. And our RAF has for many years guaranteed the district will contribute the total cost of medical premiums for insurance for employees. Even if we don't get new revenue, the district would take on that obligation. With the expiration of the RAF, there's no longer that legal requirement. So we will also be engaging very quickly with all of our bargaining units and meet and confer units on the impacts of this change. And doing this before open enrollment starts and getting any agreements in place. And so I hope that we'll have those concluded quickly and be able to share updates with everyone on that. That is the end of my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. Okay. We're gonna go to our item 1001, Chancellor.
Yeah, so would like to say welcome back, Trustee Jameson. We have missed you, and we are really glad to have you here with us. With that, would recommend the board excuse Trustee Jameson's absences from the July board meeting and the July board retreat, so that she can continue to be paid for her service and in recognition of the circumstances that led to her absence.
Thank you. Before we have a discussion, may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Magaña, second by trustee Nieto Senior, any discussion? Seeing none. Student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. Aye.
Okay, will the board members please vote? The item passes unanimously with trustee Jameson abstaining. Thank you. Item 1002.
Board is required to annually evaluate its performance and to establish goals from the upcoming year. The board subcommittee has done the work to prepare a self-evaluation and the goals. I want to thank trustees Senior and Jameson for serving on that subcommittee and doing this work. I understand we have public comment on this item, so before the board has any discussion and considers action, I recommend we hear public comment.
Yes, Catherine Schaefer.
Hi, Chancellor, board members, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Trustee Milgram, I look forward to seeing you down at our campus at Harborview in November. And I heard about lunch and coffee, so I'll do what I can to make sure we have refreshments for you. Again, like I said, thank you for this opportunity to speak today. I took a look at the survey before coming down here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm sorry. I'm the Dean of Healthcare Careers at the San Diego College of Continuing Education, Harborview campus. And I've been a member of this district for 21 years now. So I reviewed the survey results that were included via the link in the agenda. And I want to say the publicized agenda. I'm concerned quite a bit about some of the prevailing sentiments that are included in that survey, but I look forward to an opportunity to speak to the board privately when you come and visit our campus, as well as an opportunity to share my thoughts privately with Chancellor Smith. And then, depending on how those meetings go, maybe I'll come back to this meeting. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is my concern and actually my surprise of the fact that individual names were included and not redacted from that report. I respect the rights of individuals to say what they feel that they need to say. I think that the survey process is effective and meaningful. But I find it disturbing that the names of individuals of campus leadership and the names of an individual whose employment was terminated by the district or dismissed from her employment, and the publicizing of those names bothers me. Publicizing the names of the individuals in that way has the potential to damage reputations of the individuals, as well as damaging the potential opportunities for those individuals across the district and the community at large. So I respectfully ask that the names of individuals be redacted from that report moving forward, like tomorrow, if possible, and to have the board and everyone else consider the ongoing practice of redacting individual names from those reports that are publicized. That's it. Thank you for this time.
Now that we had a public comment, thank you, trustee Nieto Senior and Jameson, for leading this subcommittee. Is there anything you would like to say about?
Well, I'm just hoping that if anyone would like to add to the goals that we specified, that this is our opportunity to do that.
Okay.
I don't know if we're able to have council kind of speak to why the names were not redacted, but maybe that's something that can be addressed for the public since this is already publicly out there.
Recommend I follow up with council when he's back, and then I can send a communication to the board and I'll connect with our public commenter as well.
Right. I need to have a motion and a second. I think we can go into more discussion afterwards. So may I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved
Moved by trustee Magaña, second by trustee Senior. Any discussion?
No.
About our board, our goals, sorry. goals. No? Great job.
You like what we did?
Yes. And I like that you added, that you allowed me to add some to our goals. So yes, good job. Okay. Seeing no more discussion, student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? The item passes unanimously. Thank you again for the public commenter on this item. Item 1101.
It's the board's practice to pull this item from the consent agenda anytime we have new programs up for approval, which we do. I'd like to welcome Vice Chancellor Topham to share with the board details on the programs that are presented here today.
Good afternoon. I'm going to present this a little differently today because we're very excited to be sharing the bachelor's program. So I want to give it its own special time. So I'm bringing together San Diego City College, Mesa College, and Miramar College's Biology 2.0 Associate in Science for Transfer degree forward and the Chemistry Associate in Science 2.0 for transfer degree. Both of these are programs that are designed and intended for students who plan to complete a bachelor's degree in biology and in chemistry separately, or related major, and are planning to transfer to a CSU. It is accepted by some, but not all CSU campus. Students who complete this degree and transfer to a participating CSU campus will be required to complete no more than 60 units after transfer. And so the same applies to the associates in chemistry. And the one that we're very excited to bring forward today is San Diego Mesa College's Physical Therapy Assistant Bachelor of Science after 3 years. The Physical Therapist Bachelor Program degree is a new local degree program designed to progress students' clinical and leadership skills while improving the quality of patient care within the community. Students who participate in this program or this degree will be able to pursue career advancements through clinical practice and managerial roles. I will stop here and turn it over to Dr. Hans.
Thank you, Susan, and hello, everyone. Susan shared what the degree is about, but we always want to take the opportunity to celebrate these benchmarks because it has been such a long time coming, and it is really exciting news for our campus and for our community. So we're excited because Mesa College is going to be the first in our district to have 2 baccalaureate degrees. Yes, that is something to celebrate. Thank you, Ricky. I hear you. All right. And so again, that is very exciting for us. And as mentioned earlier, when Chancellor Smith was speaking, this is all about access and making sure that our community has access to baccalaureate degrees, to jobs that pay living wages, that they're able to contribute to our community and society based off of the work-based needs in our area, that they can stay here, home, with family, not have to leave. And so we're very excited about that. So Susan already talked about what the program will do. And so what I want to do is to acknowledge and thank individuals who worked really hard to make this happen. And so I do want to thank our Vice President of Instruction, Isabel O'Connor, our deans, Cassandra Story, Shelley Hess, and Hai Huang, and Professors Gail Bachman, and with us today, Mandy Johnston, here for their incredible vision, their persistence. There was a lot of work. And I'd also like to thank our Chancellor for advocacy and letter writing at the final hour that helped to push this over. We are excited because this benchmark allows us now to fully launch and prepare. So we're prepared to have our first cohort fall 2027. Our website should be up and running within a few weeks. And so if you have people who are interested, you can refer them to the website. And then in addition to that, we are expecting a cohort of anywhere between 20 to 30. So we're so excited what this means for the community. What we all have been doing with the baccalaureate degrees, we have seen a need. We have identified what is best for our students, and we create meaningful pathways so our students can become all they were born to be. So thank you for sharing space to talk about this benchmark. Any questions?
So you said 3 years, so it's 2-year AA and then 3 years, or it's 3 years?
No, that's how
total?
long it took to get this approved. That's not even being funny. So that, I mean, the length of the process, which should have been short, was extended over to almost 3 years. So it is a 4-year degree. The first 2 are with the associate degree that we already offer in physical therapy assistant. And then the 2 years are the graduate work. And all for $10,600 from start to finish. And there's also support so that those fees are reduced. So we're very excited about that. But that's why we need these bills passed, because 3 years is unacceptable. We could have been graduating our first class already.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
To you, to us, to our upcoming students, yeah, to all of you. So
Thanks.
congratulations. Thank you. Okay, with that, we can, what? Okay.
Ready to
Um,
vote.
Yes, yeah, we will. So, may I have a motion and a second on this item? Moved by trustee Jameson. Second. Second by trustee Nieto Senior. Any discussion on this item? No? All right, student trustee, do you have anything to add, and how do you vote?
Highly supportive of the introduction of another bachelor's degree in the community colleges. As a bachelor's student myself in the community colleges, my vote is aye.
Thank you. The board members, please vote. Okay, and passes unanimously. We go to item 1301.
Item 1201.
Oh, sorry, 1201. Yes, 1201.
Item 1201 in most years has been a routine item for us. In 2004, Congress passed legislation that required all educational institutions that receive educational funding under Title IV, such as the Pell Grant, have to recognize September 17th as Constitution Day to commemorate the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. And while this has been a legal requirement that we have done, we've not often drawn attention, but given the conversations that have been happening for a couple of years now on the Constitution and what it does and does not do and does and does not protect and mean, I thought it may be a little more important this year to elevate the fact that being knowledgeable about the rights that we have and being able to advocate for those rights if and when they are threatened or not being provided is incredibly important. And so while this is may seem like a mundane and routine legal requirement, is an extremely important aspect of education. And so just wanted to highlight that. As you can see, there will be events across each of our colleges related to Constitution Day and engaging our students and understanding their legal rights as citizens of the United States and as immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees in the United States, and recommend the board pass this item recognizing September 17th as Constitution Day.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on this item? Moved by trustee Magana, second by trustee Jameson. Any discussion? No. Student trustee, do you have anything to add, and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. Aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? The item passes unanimously, and now we go to item 1301.
And 1301 is a presentation on the results of the district's issuance and sale of general obligation refunding bonds for Props S and N. And you recall back in March, we had brought to the board a resolution to approve us to explore refunding depending on market conditions. As you'll hear in this presentations, market conditions improved actually significantly for us, and we achieved some very significant tax savings. And just also wanted to share with the board, we issued a press release on this, which was picked up by the Daily Transcript, And last week, I received a card from our county assessor, Jordan Marks, thanking the board for its proactive management of our bond programs and taking action to reduce the tax burden on our taxpayers. And so know that this work goes noticed by people that do this. And it was, I thought, a very nice gesture from our county assessor to be paying attention and to reach out and acknowledge the board. With that, Vice Chancellor Troy is here to present to the board on exactly how much money we have saved taxpayers through this and the cumulative savings we've achieved with Props S&N.
Yes, thank you, Chancellor. Good evening, trustees. We're very grateful and appreciative to our community when they support our bonds. Without those bonds, we could not provide safe learning spaces for our students and our staff. So we're very appreciative of that. And I think part of that trust is that we owe them that obligation to revisit the debt that we've issued and make sure that we take advantage of opportunities to ease the burden on our taxpayers. And I'm going to steal one number from the presentation before I turn it over, is that if you look back over the last 15 years for Props S&N combined, with all of the refundings we've done over the years, we've saved a cumulative $367 million for our taxpayers. So we look for these opportunities to thank our taxpayers for their support for us. Before I turn it over to our presenter, I do want to acknowledge all the members of the finance team who put in so much work to make sure that we can provide this benefit to our taxpayers. For our bond counsel and disclosure counsel, Ann Rowland and Mauricio Salazar from Norton Rose Fulbright. Our municipal advisors are Daniel Aruda and Joanna Bose from K&N Public Finance. And here to present the results of the transaction are our underwriter for the project, managing director from RBC Capital Markets, Karma Pemba. So I'll turn it over to Karma now.
Thank you, Dan. Good evening to the board, Chancellor Smith and staff. Again, as Dan mentioned, I'm here to present a summary on the 2026 GO refunding that we successfully closed in August. As Chancellor Smith mentioned, again, this demonstrates the district's continued commitment to fiscal stewardship and capturing meaningful taxpayer savings. So I don't see the presentation in front of over here, but I assume you guys have it. So if we go to page 1, the timeline. Here again, we highlight the timeline as perfect.
The next page.
Thank you, Dan. We go to page 1.
Difficulties. They're working on it.
No problem.
If you have any bond market jokes, this would be a good time.
All right, here we go. Oops. Here we go. So timeline again, as Chancellor Smith mentioned, we came to the board March 12, 2026, earlier this year, and got the documents approved. You'll notice that we sold the bonds a couple of months later, and that was intentional. And I'll go through market conditions shortly, but we were looking for an opportune time to issue these bonds and provide the most savings possible. And as you might recall, around March, we had the whole conflict in Iran and Chairman Walsh and all of those type of things coming in. So March and April were very volatile times, and so we were looking for an opportune time to go in. June's market started to settle in June, and so we went to the rating agencies June 10th and 11th and received your ratings, very strong ratings. And then on June 29th, we posted the preliminary official statement and began the marketing process. The preliminary official statement is the document that investors look at to make a decision on purchasing the bonds. And then July 15th, we sold the bonds, and as mentioned, August 4th, the transaction was closed. So if we go to the next page. So before I dive deeper into the sale itself, I wanted to sort of provide an overview of where the outstanding debt stands currently. As you can see on this page, we've broken down the election into three sections of the three elections that the district has in the previously. We have about 1.8 billion of bonds outstanding. And as you know, under Measure HH, we still have about 2.6 billion of authorization remaining. You'll see a column called call date. And so similar to the refinancing that we just did, the next real opportunity is 2029. So it'll be a couple of years before I come back to you and talk about any refinancing that the district might have done. So if we go to the next page. Again, I wanted to talk about the markets. You'll see a lot of numbers here. I won't go through all of it, but I wanted to give you a context. So our timing was actually very sound and fortunate. You know, it was strategic. We looked to take advantage of market conditions. The theme for the past couple of years, as you know, has been inflation and the fight, trying to fight inflation. In fact, early part of this year, 26 January, February into March, we actually saw rates decreasing, and the general consensus was rates would actually decrease. However, with the conflict in Iran end of February into March, with oil prices spiking, and then the inflation story came back around with rates increasing quite dramatically again. In addition, you know, for the past few months, it's been the Strait of Hormuz opening or closing. So that uncertainty has also provided a lot of volatility with oil prices as well as other inflationary figures. And so we've been trying to navigate a window here, and we were able to find one in early part of July. If you look at that bar to the upper far left, that's the municipal yields, and you can see a spike around in the March timeframe, and then a decrease that we took advantage of. In fact, we were very fortunate on July 15, we sold the bonds. The following week, rates had increased by 29 basis points. So just in a week. So that would have decreased our savings by about 5 million. Today, so about a month, a little bit over a month now, today rates are as high as 40 basis points from July 15th. So our transaction would have decreased in savings by roughly $6 million. So we were very fortunate in taking advantage of that momentum there. If we go to the next page, so part of issuing bonds in the public market is to get credit ratings. And so we went to the two leading credit agencies, S&P and Moody's, and the district has very strong ratings. With S&P, you have AAA, that's the highest rating possible. And with Moody's, you have AA1, that's the second highest notch. And the district should be very proud of its ratings. There's not a lot of AAA districts in the community college space, and so being one is really a great feat, and also helps lower your tax rate. You can see some of the highlights that obviously the tax base, the robust economy, and the fiscal management of the district has been considered strengths for the rating agencies. Both rating agencies put, you'll notice, significant revenue raising flexibility as an issue. And that's not really a district issue. It's more of a sector issue. Both rating agencies look at community colleges and school districts in California, and being under a formula, it's not easy to just raise revenues. And so that's a challenge that they add. Again, you have very strong ratings. AAA, S&P can't get any higher. Moody's, our goal is to get over that AA1 into AAA eventually once, again, enrollment increases and stabilizes there. But kudos to the district, very strong ratings here. And this allows us to, again, get these strong savings. If we go to the next page. So, here are the results, right? What we wanted to do is compare it to the good faith estimate in March. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things. You'll notice that the size of the financing increased quite considerably from the good faith to the final issuance. And that's because this financing has two pieces. One is a traditional refinancing, where we just call the bond on the call date. The other is what we call a tender financing. In a tender, you're asking the investors to sell us their bonds. And so it's their option, not mandatory. So for the board, you might remember in 2024, we did a very successful tender refinancing early 2024. And so this was a follow-on. So for the good faith estimates, we used a very conservative tender percentage. Typically, tenders are in the 15 to 25% range. So we used, I believe, a 20% tender. We were able to really surpass that by getting 30 plus percentage tender candidates, and that's why the increase in the size of the transaction. You'll notice at the bottom, the taxpayer savings, as Vice Chancellor Troy mentioned, 27 million of savings. So about almost 11 million more than what we had estimated in March. And that total, again, being stewardship of the district's taxpayer money since 2011, 367 million. Again, great numbers there. We go to the next page. I'll talk about actual orders. So here, a lot of numbers, but if you look at the principal column, so those are how much we had available to offer for each of those maturities to investors. So the total was 291 million. And you'll notice total orders of 129 million. So we received 129 million from 28 investors. So we still had a balance of about 180 million to go at the end of the order period. And so we had to make a couple of adjustments. And, the district is obviously a very important client of RBC, and we worked with you for many years. And so what RBC did was we underwrote the balance of over 100 million and committed our own capital. So basically locked in your savings and took the risk of interest rate volatility on our books to provide you the savings that you're seeing here. The unsold balances, there are two real reasons for that. One is in June, July, what we noticed with investors, again, 28 investors is a lot of investors for your orders, but because of the volatility and the uncertainty, investors were not putting in orders in their typical size. So for example, if a investor would have put in 50 million of orders, they might have put in 10 million or 5 million. And that's because every week rates were going up. And so, it's an opportunity cost. Do they buy your bonds today or wait a week and buy bonds at a higher rate, which benefits them? And so that volatility accounted for one. And also number two, we were very aggressive with your rates, meaning we try to get the rates as low as possible. And as I mentioned, investors could find other higher rates. And so that was another reason we had some unsold balances at that time period. If we go to the next page here, this is orders by investor type. And so we have about 88% of the orders came with SMA and bond funds. So bond funds, as you might imagine, are the Vanguards, Fidelities of the world. SMA stands for separately managed accounts. And what they've been big buyers of bonds, I would say, in the past 10 years. And basically what SMAs are, 10, 15 years ago, you and I as individuals would put in orders to buy municipal bonds. But the trend now has been you as an individual would just give money to an advisor, and then the advisor would pool your money together and put in one order. So you have these big SMA accounts that will put in an order for, let's say, $20 million, and then allocate it internally to all of their clients. And so that's been a new trend in the past 10 years or so. So there have been big buyers of your bonds. But you've got a very diversified buyer base, again, bond funds, banks, some hedge funds, and very little individual. As I mentioned, a lot of the individual investors are really just now going into SMA accounts. And then finally, on the next page, quick summary, again, very successful sale for the refinancing. As I mentioned, we had about 33% tender rate, which allowed us to generate that 27 million of savings. As I mentioned, RBC ultimately underwrote over 100 million of bonds to lock in the savings for the district. And, again, kudos for this successful implementation, really top down, right, from the district Board of Trustees, Chancellor Smith. The directive is there to help save taxpayers money when opportunities presents itself. And again, another case demonstrated here today. With that, that's my presentation. Happy to take any questions.
So much. Should we take a, oh, no, this is presentation only. Any questions for presenter? Yeah, Trustee Milgram.
Well, congratulations. Given what's happened in the latter part of August with the bond market, I would say that you are top-notch seers. You know, you really did time this well. With the debt hitting $40 trillion and the recent chaos in the bond markets, I think I'll learn more about bond markets in the last 2.5 weeks than ever before. Do you think this is going to impact our ability to do future refunding, or is this perhaps an opportunity for us because of the fiscal stability of our district? I mean, we have Moody's is the highest we can get. The S&P is that right? Or yeah, Moody is S&P is at the highest, and the Moody's is just one below that. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. As I was saying, in terms of a normal refinancing, the next availability is 2029. And so we will have to wait a little bit until you can refinance bonds. But as you mentioned, Trustee, with your strong ratings, you always have the opportunity to get the lowest rates. And as such, when there is opportunities for refinancings, a district with high ratings has the strongest opportunity to reduce their rates. So I would say, if I was a betting man, you will definitely have an opportunity in 2029.
And I would note when it comes to Measure HH, when we go out for issuance, we have our plans in place, and our expectation is that we're going to, meet that obligation to our community to issue those bonds and build those buildings, modernize our infrastructure. We're going to move forward with our plan, and then we can look for opportunities to refinance later if the rates aren't as great as we might like at those times.
The pie chart that you showed, is that actual buyers, or is that, it said bids? So that's,
Yeah, those are the ultimate holders of the bonds we sold. Yeah.
did they go as fast as they've been in the past?
Yeah, well, as Karma mentioned, we did have some outstanding bonds need to be sold that RBC was willing to hold on to on our behalf. So this is one of the reasons why when you work with an underwriter, you make sure you work with an underwriter that is well capitalized. They have the cash to handle these issues, but I think it shows their commitment to the district, that they want to be good partners with us, and obviously some confidence in the market that they'll be able to sell those bonds.
And in the Moody's ratings, it said no absence of fundraising flexibility. Does the fundraising that we're doing now, the $100 million campaign and sort of the future, is that something that would have an impact on that, or is that just small potatoes, meaning against our total budget?
I think it would be beneficial in that it shows that we have broad community support. But obviously, we're not going to take those dollars and use it to pay back bondholders or whatever. So I think it's relatively small potatoes when you consider the entire AV of the San Diego area, which is primarily what they're looking at. But again, as a token of community support, I think it's helpful.
Thank you, and thank you for saving me some money.
Me too.
Okay. Done. That's the end of your presentation. So thank you both. Have a good evening.
Take care.
Yes. Now we go to item 1406.
Item 1406 is our annual report on sex discrimination in our district and our efforts to prevent and address acts of sex discrimination and allegations. This was established as a requirement under Senate Bill 1166 and really reflects a very unfortunate history we have in our society of diminishing the impact of sex discrimination and ensuring that as public employers that we are fulfilling our obligation to all members of our community to provide a healthy and safe workspace. I want to invite Vice Chancellor Burns and our Title IX Director, Amber Eckhart, to come up and do a brief presentation to the board on what is in our report before the board takes action to approve it.
Good evening, Board President, Board of Trustees, and Chancellor Smith. I'm here with Amber Eckert to discuss our Title IX Office Annual Report. This information has been shared with our Deputy Title IX coordinators as well as district partners. This comprehensive report provides a high level of metrics for our Title IX office, including trends that we have seen. And before yielding to Amber, I would just like to take some time to express appreciation for the great work that Amber does. Not only does she keep us focused and in compliance, she invests a lot of time into education and making sure folks understand all of the nuances of very complex regulation. One data point that we're particularly proud of that you'll see in the PowerPoint is the 31 trainings that have occurred and the over 1,400 students and employees who were communicated through those 31 trainings. So at this time, I'd like to yield to Amber.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Burns. Good evening, Chancellor Smith and trustees. Thank you so much. As Vice Chancellor Burns said, my name is Amber Eckert. I am the Title IX coordinator, and that means that I support students and employees at all 4 of our colleges and our district administrative locations who report they've been impacted by sexual violence or sexual harassment. I do that in partnership with our deputy Title IX coordinators at each of the colleges and some select staff here at the district in employee relations and educational services. What I'm going to do is walk you through the required information that we are obligated to report in a public manner. It is a new reporting requirement. I'm going to help you understand the report because it's perhaps not intrinsically intuitive how we can read the report. I'm also going to provide you just a little bit of background about how those numbers are derived. So if we can go to our next slide. Okay. So the reporting requirement by Senate Bill 1166 is a new requirement for community colleges and the UC system as of this year. For context, the CSUs have been reporting on sexual harassment since about December 2023. What we're going to see in this first report period is we're actually looking at 18 months, and then all of our future reporting will be in 12-month chunks. The information in the report is specific to sexual harassment, both under the Title IX lens and our California definition of sexual harassment. They are not the same. They are not mutually exclusive. They overlap in many areas. But one of the things that I want folks to know, especially about our California definition of sexual harassment, is that behavior can actually take place off campus, and we're obligated to respond. Okay, next slide, please. When we're looking at a little bit of a timeline of how do we get to here today, how am I presenting, we can see we're in a bit of a compressed timeline. We did have on July 20th, the statewide chancellor's office released the report format. One of the things that is important for the board to know here is that reporting format is structured so that we as the individual colleges are providing information for data points, but we actually cannot change how that information is presented. So again, I'll be walking you through that. Looking towards, we shared the information with our chancellor's cabinet, with some select members of our Title IX partnership team and others. And then also we'll, at the end of today, be looking for that approval from the board so that we can report it up to our statewide chancellor's office, who will ultimately be aggregating the reports from all of our community colleges into a consolidated report, and they themselves will report to the legislator. Okay, next slide. Okay. These next slides are going to be screenshots of the actual report, which was also included in the trustee deck as a PDF. This first part, again, who we are, what are the colleges that we're reporting on. It's important to reflect that this report is a snapshot in time. And so one of our challenges with reporting in a snapshot in time is we have things that happen before, things that have to happen after that I will talk a little bit about. But again, we're looking at that snapshot in time from things that occurred January 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. The report also, because we're focusing solely on sexual harassment, does not, I think, uncover the entirety of what the Title IX office does. Vice Chancellor Burns said a little bit about some of the educational outreach efforts that our office does. We also respond to reports of retaliation or discrimination on the basis of sex or gender. That's also in our office. We also do supportive measures for anyone who's been impacted by sexual violence off campus under our Violence Against Women Act. Again, not in the report, but I want you to have a little bit of that big picture about the Title IX office. Okay, next slide. So this first slide is really talking about two primary components. We're talking about reports and we're talking about complaints. And they are actually different things. A report is any type of verbal or written report that someone in our community, student or employee, or even a community member, makes that they have been impacted by what they consider to be sexual violence or sexual harassment. What we see is not all reports move to complaints, because a complaint is a very specific definition under Title IX or under California of what constitutes sexual harassment. We are able to resolve most reports of sexual harassment or sexual violence without moving to that complaint or investigation phase, because actually a lot of what comes through our office doesn't meet that jurisdictional requirement. Either it's happening off campus or, again, doesn't meet the definition of sexual harassment. But that doesn't mean that that behavior wasn't unwelcome or disruptive. So our office works individually with every single person who reports sexual harassment. We reach out to them. We say, are you okay? Tell us more. And let's talk about the supports that are available in the office. And let's talk about the pathways to resolve those concerns. When we're looking at this slide, I want you to keep two numbers in mind, because it's going to help us as we follow through the rest of the report. That's, we're looking at City College, and we can see that there were 4 complaints. And if we look at Miramar, we can see that there were 3. So as you kind of take your mental whiteboard, think of 3 and 4, and that'll help us as we move through the next part of the report. Next slide, please. This slide talks about dismissal, right? Again, not all complaints actually end up going through that full investigation process. So once a complaint has been received, sometimes a complaint might be dismissed before we conclude an investigation or come to resolution of that complaint. That happens when a complainant says, you know what, I'm actually in writing going to request that I'm officially withdrawing my complaint. Or sometimes we see that what we call a respondent, that is the person who is accused of engaging in that unwelcome or harassing behavior. That person is no longer a member of our community. So maybe someone might leave employment, or maybe someone is no longer a student. So what we can see here in this, this slide is we actually had a couple of complaints that we had started the official process of investigating, and we actually dismissed those complaints midway through the process. It's important to note that a dismissal doesn't mean that we determined that nothing happened, that no sexual harassment occurred. It's just that because of either the respondent leaving or the person saying, I no longer wish to engage in this process, we actually close out that complaint, and we call it dismissing the complaint. Let's go to the next slide. So now we're looking at investigations. Okay, back to that 3 and back to that 4. So what we can see here is in City College, we had those 4 complaints. We've opened 4 investigations. Similarly with Miramar, we had those 3 complaints. We've opened 3 investigations. This slide is focusing on what is the timeline between when we receive a complaint to when we actually open an investigation. And that means, when do we give notice to the 2 parties, the complainant, the person who brought the complaint, and the respondent? When do we actually give notice? We are opening an investigation. And when we open an investigation in Title IX, folks know. I like to say it's a little bit like receiving the, remember in Harry Potter, remember when the owls would come in, right? They come in through the cafeteria there, and they've got the screaming letter. My letters don't scream, but it does say Title IX, notice of complaint and investigation, right? So we're very structured with, we're notifying our parties, because that is a key component. We have to notify people. We've received these concerns. Here's what the concerns are, and we're opening an investigation. There's a little bit of time gap between when we receive a complaint and when we actually open that investigation. Most of that is more administrative on my end, ensuring that I've met with the complainant, we've clarified what the concerns are. Are there any immediate supportive measures we need to implement? And most importantly, are we ready to open that complaint? I've got everything in the row, all my ducks in a line. We open that complaint. Next slide, please. This report is talking a little bit about how long does it actually take to complete the investigation. And in the Title IX process, there's actually additional steps that go beyond that completing the investigation. But what we're really looking to do is complete that investigation in 90 to 120 working days. Things that can impact the time to completion include availability of folks we're trying to interview, complexity of the allegations. If there's a concurrent criminal investigation going on, we're typically waiting until that reaches a certain point that we're able to investigate. So there's a number of factors, but we usually are able to complete those investigations in under 6 months. I have a couple that went just over 6 months. A lot of it also is timing in if we have any district days that we're closed, right? So if I receive a complaint kind of right at the end of the fall, knowing we're going into that winter period might take a little bit longer. The investigations are typically conducted by members of our employee relations team, our investigative analysts. We do, however, sometimes utilize an outside legal firm that specializes in Title IX. We would do that if we have capacity constraints. Okay, next slide. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Go back. I almost forgot why I asked you to keep the 3 and the 4 in the mind. Okay, when we look at this slide, we can see that those 4 complaints we had at City College went to the 4 investigations and we completed the 4 investigations, right? We can kind of follow through that path line. But when we look at Miramar, we see, wait, they don't have, it's gone to a 0. What happened to the Miramar investigations? Well, Miramar actually had 2 of those formal investigations dismissed before we concluded the investigation, right? We had one of those reasons for dismissal. We also have 1 investigation with Miramar still open. So therefore, we're not able to put it on my spreadsheet for that it is concluded. Okay, next one. So now we're getting to the hearing phase, right? So again, we've got our 3, we've got our 4. When we look at City College, we can see that we had 2 of our complaints were resolved through the use of a hearing and 2 were not. And that's again because of that distinction between, are we utilizing a Title IX process or are we using what we call alternative resolution? And our alternative resolution process is in essence an investigation, but without a hearing. And we use that for complaints that fall outside of our Title IX jurisdiction or don't meet that threshold of the definition of sexual harassment under Title IX, but still need to be addressed. Again, kind of parallel pathways, Title IX a little bit more complex. So we can see with City College, we had all 4 of those complaints. We had 2 with hearing, 2 with alternative process. And again, I talked about complaints being dismissed. Okay. Next, oh, wait, one last thing on the slide. Just because this slide says determination reached, that does not mean a determination was reached that sexual harassment occurred. It means the hearing officer made a determination, did sexual harassment occur or did it not occur? And we use a standard of proof called more likely than not, which is kind of 50% plus a grain of sand. I, as the Title IX coordinator, I do not make that determination if sexual harassment occurred or did not occur. We actually use an independent hearing official is another part of our process. Next slide. This slide is reporting on appeals to the Title IX process. Again, we've got that bouncing ball, right? We had City College, had their 4 complaints addressed, 2 of them by the Title IX process. In an appeal to the Title IX process, there's very limited reasons a person could appeal. They cannot appeal simply because they don't agree with the outcome. It's really either there's new information that wasn't reasonably available during the investigation, there was bias on behalf of the Title IX team engaged in that process, or there was really an egregious misstep. We did not follow the process and the parties did not have the opportunity to engage in the full process. So we had 0 appeals in our last reporting period. Next slide, please. And this one is even more minute. Again, very much a narrow procedural definition. This is if an employee respondent has engaged in the Title IX process and been found responsible for sexual harassment in the Title IX process, they then are afforded the opportunity to appeal the sanctions via the Skelly process. They cannot appeal the outcome of a finding of responsibility, but they can appeal the discipline via the Skelly process. So again, we have 0s for our most recent reporting period. Okay. This next slide, please. Thank you. This talks about responsible employees and confidential employees. So almost all employees in our district are what we call responsible employees. That means they have an obligation to, if they learn that someone in our student or employee community has been impacted by sexual harassment or sexual violence, they need to report that information over to me as the Title IX coordinator. That's because I want to reach out, I want to offer supports, and I want to stop that behavior and prevent its reoccurrence and remediate the impacts. But sometimes folks, especially students, they're not quite ready to engage with the Title IX office. So we want to have a safe space for them to report that information to. So it's primarily folks that are in our student health services by their licensure. They are what we call confidential employees. A student can go and report information about their experience to those confidential reporters, and the title, they will obviously encourage someone to get in contact with Title IX, but they do not have to report to me. We also have an additional group of folks that are our LGBTQIA+ confidential contacts. We are still finalizing whom those folks are, and as soon as we have that finalized, we will update the report and make that publicly available. Okay. Although not on the report, what is important to know, employees also have a confidential option, and that's through our employee assistance program. Okay. So in closing, what I'd like to do is really emphasize that this work is both about compliance and people. Our legal obligations are clear and non-negotiable, but the way that we approach the work is a choice that we make. We can approach this by using incredibly legalistic and confusing nomenclature. We can be impersonal in our approach to this, or we can say, no, let's really see what do we do, what can we do to make sure that everyone who experiences and engages with the Title IX office understands what's going to happen, they have a meaningful opportunity to participate, and they feel heard. It's difficult work. It's often working with folks who are in a vulnerable or an uncertain moment in their experience with their student experience or their employment experience. And our responsibility is not to promise a particular outcome, but it's a commitment to ensuring that they are treated fairly, that they are treated humanely, and that we can really put the people first. So the law provides the framework, but our values guide the experience. So I thank you for your time this afternoon and welcome any questions.
Thank you. We have a discussion. I need to have a motion and a second on the item. So moved. By trustee Nito Senior, second by trustee Magaña. And now we can have a discussion or questions for our presenter.
I have questions. Well, thank you for presenting for one, and thank you for your work on this as well. I don't like this framework at all. It's very confusing when you're reading it firsthand, and I read it like 3 times trying to understand, and now that you're explaining it again, I'm still like, well, why do we have tables that say there were 0 informal resolutions, but then there were dismissals? Like, do they not correlate? I'm kind of
They are, that's a wonderful question. An informal resolution is actually a procedural element where, think of it as, once a formal complaint has been filed, someone can say, we don't want to go through the formal grievance and investigation process, but rather think of it almost like arbitration. We wish to come together and informally resolve what this matter is. So typically that is circumvents the disciplinary process, but someone says, I just want you to know how you made me feel. I just want to hear you say that, you're sorry. I'm being very high level with what that is. But informal resolution is different than dismissal. Dismissal is that procedural we are no longer moving forward with anything related to this matter.
So that's not confusing to understand. It's the fact that like it says 0 is listed, but there were dismissals and there were investigations at one point. So I don't know if it's just how the state provides this tabling and what needs to be inputted, but I'm just confused by if there were 3 or 4 here, how were there 0 listed? I guess that's my point.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of a bouncing ball, follow the bouncing ball through the report. And I think what I'm trying to do is provide some additional understanding behind that. So what might be helpful is at different circumstances, come and share information about the Title IX office and some of the statistics that maybe are not in this required format, if that would be helpful. But if you'd like us to go back to a particular slide, I'm happy to do so.
No, it's fine. I don't want to hold up too much time with this because I also asked questions when we were briefed on it. And I know you provided answers as well. So I have an understanding. I'm just frustrated by it. Fine. We can move on. We can move on.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trustee Milgram.
So that is hard to parse when you don't have any comparisons. So there are 2 things that I wonder, which is we had a lot of complaints and well, not complaints, but reports, I guess. And in some cases there none go to the complaint process. Is that entirely your office's determination, or is it well, based on the law, right? Not arbitrarily. Or is this because the people involved didn't, filing the report, didn't want to proceed to the more formal stage? And I guess you may not have this information, but how does our numbers compare to other institutions? I mean, do we have more or less? Our clearance rate, they look like there's a pretty rapid response, 1 to 2 weeks. I assume if something's really awful, it's faster. And then the whole process is mostly 3 to 6 months. So investigations are always frustrating because they take a lot of time.
I want to circle back. I believe I heard 2 distinct questions. One, One, why perhaps do the volume of reports, right, not move to complaints? And you actually gave an excellent example. Sometimes a report will meet that jurisdictional definition of a complaint, but someone says, I don't wish to move forward. And I do have data on that. Again, I think separate from today's presentation, but it is a small percentage of reports that meet that complaint threshold, that jurisdictional definition, that someone chooses not to do so. But part of the Title IX process is that if a complainant says, here's what's happened to me, I just want supportive measures, I actually don't want to engage in the grievance process, we, to the best of our ability, with some narrowed exclusions, say, okay, we can do that, right? I have to move forward if someone reports violence. I have to move forward if someone says they've been impacted by an employee, right? We have other obligations that require us to move forward. But if a student is reporting that they have been impacted by another student and they say, I just don't know what I want to do right now, I think I just want supportive measures. Part of the Title IX process is honoring the agency of that person moving forward. So again, multiple reasons why things may not move forward to Title IX. And I want to go back to what I said in the very beginning, where every single report that comes through the Title IX office, I'm outreaching to that individual when known, because people can also report anonymously to the office, right? And then I'm like, okay, I've got this information, but I can't reach back out to offer supports, to say, how are you? Are you okay? What do you need? Come on in. Let's talk about the Title IX process and explore what pathways are eligible to resolve your concerns, because it's not always the Title IX pathway or the California Sexual Harassment Pathway. Sometimes things are actually not violations of sexual harassment, but maybe it's a violation of a district policy, whether that's our student code of conduct or other employer relations policies. We're going to make sure that that information gets over there. So it's, resolved via that pathway. Or sometimes concerns come my way. That's not a violation of any of our policies, but this is simply disruptive behavior or impactful behavior, and we're going to offer supports. So the reports, that big number, big volume coming through, and that complaints under Title IX is that very narrow look. But all the things there, they're all, to the best of our ability, touched. How do you want this addressed? What do you need? And how do you want to go forward? And that can change over time. Someone can come to me and say, this is what's happened to me, but I'm not ready to move forward with grievance. And they come back 6 months later and say, I'm ready now. Okay, great. Title IX process. We're going to move forward. Your other question was, how do we compare? So there's a bit of opaqueness to how do we compare to other colleges, especially other community colleges that I'm actually looking forward to with 1166, being able to see a little bit of how do they compare to other colleges. What I can tell you is what we are experiencing year over year is year over year growth in the volume of reports to the Title IX office, which doesn't necessarily correlate to growth in incidences happening. It actually could be, I see it as a good thing, it's reports that folks know where to report to now. So the growth in reports means more people than I'm able to reach out to and hopefully impact with positive information about supports. So a lot of what we do is presentations to students, presentations to employees. I was just earlier this week out at our Miramar Welcome Back College Fair, earlier today talking to our student athletes at Mesa. So a lot of it is that, boots on the ground. Title IX's here.
I appreciate that even except for the anonymous ones where you can't really do anything, that you all the reports get outreach from your office. I'll try and I know we're so if the person who's been accused, with faculty member, another student or anything, is there any process by which those people are aware that this has been filed against them? I'm thinking, especially with, not that they're all bad, but if a student is complaining about a faculty member or staff member or something like that.
So when we are at the formal Title IX process, right? I kind of made my analogy to the Harry Potter, Howler letter. Okay. So very much so in the formal Title IX process and also in our alternative process. If we've done in my office determined this actually is through the pathway of either, Title IX or California, we absolutely, before we initiate the investigation on the very day, we say, these are the allegations that have come in. This is the person who made the allegations, and here's what it is. We're now doing an investigation. I also reach out separately to the respondent and I say, come on in. This may be the first time that you have ever even heard these allegations or even have heard of the Title IX office. Come on in and let's talk about what this process looks like. Because my obligation is to both the complainant and the respondent to ensure, like I said, they understand what's happening and they have the ability to meaningfully participate. We also don't determine any responsibility until the end of an investigation or hearing process. When things are referred out to student affairs or employee relations, they're going to follow their typical process for notifying a respondent that a complaint has come in.
And thanks for the LGBTQ context and same-sex couple violence and our queer and trans students under so much pressure. A lot of that goes under unreported or ends up, with that person who they reach out. So another good reason for us to have full-time counselors for our Pride Centers at all of our campuses. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Thank you for your presentation. Also Vice Chancellor Burns. Okay. Student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? Thank you. The item passes unanimously. Now we go to item 1502.
And 1502 is a unique opportunity for our district to do our first development of student family housing. I want to thank Vice Chancellor Peterson and his team for the work to identify this opportunity and for us to be able to bring this to the board. Basically, in short, a building that was built in downtown San Diego, about a block and a half south of City College in 2018 for commercial office space, has sat largely vacant, first due to COVID happening shortly after they opened the building, and then with the increase in remote work and a depressed commercial real estate market in downtown, the company's not been able to fill the building and has ongoing debt payments that they cannot service with revenue from the building. We have the opportunity to take over a 25-year lease of that building and have it converted into 64 units of student family housing, 42 bedroom apartments, 21 bedroom apartments, and 4 one-bedroom lofts at rents of $1,500 a month for the 2-bedroom units, $1,200 a month for the 1-bedroom lofts, and $1,000 a month for the 1-bedroom apartments, significantly below market rates, where median 1-bedroom apartments are in excess of $2,500. What's before the board today is an initial lease of 25 terms that we would prepay, which would allow the company to pay off its debt and deliver us the building converted into housing use at about $12 million less than the current market value of the building would be. What is also contained in the lease agreement is a purchase option that we could initiate, a $1 purchase within the first 55 months of the lease term. We will separately commence negotiations with the landowners, and if we are able to successfully negotiate purchase of the land, then we'll bring back a recommendation to the board to exercise purchase of the building itself. But it's an opportunity for us to do our first development of student family housing. We would likely be able to open fall of 2028, the same time the large housing complex at City College will open. And to be clear, this is to provide a district-wide housing resource, not exclusive to or priority to City College students, although the proximity to City College may drive interest to be higher there. But I recommend the board approve this item so we can move forward and begin offering our first student family housing.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on this item?
Second.
Moved by trustee Jameson, second by trustee Anita Senior. Any questions or discussion? Trustee McGinn.
So, City College Academic Senate. Nick, there is another item that your faculty, as well as faculty across the district, can share. This is more student housing. So I'm all for it.
Thank you, trustee Magana. Anyone else?
Yeah, we're using the broadest possible definition of family, so that it doesn't include or require that it be actually have a parent, a student parent with the kids, children.
Thank you. Anyone? Okay, seeing none. Student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Yes, Board President. I appreciate that measures are being taken to ensure students across the district have greater access to student housing. Providing student family housing is an important step toward supporting students and their families as they pursue higher education. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Mine is 2. Board members, please vote. Thank you. And the item passes unanimously. Now we go to item 1503.
1503 amends our current lease of the building at 1450 Frazee Road, which is currently housing the majority of the individuals working on our Measure HH bond program and our operations, enterprise services, and facilities administrative team. There's additional space in the building that tenant leases are expiring. And so the amendment here expands our current lease within that building for space for our bond operations. Also contained within the lease amendment is the option for the district at a future date to purchase the building. I want to be clear, this is not the purchase of the building. That would come back as a separate item for the board to take action on, but that it does negotiate terms around the acquisition of the building. And as we continue to assess this, if that proves to be the most favorable option for a future district office, then we would bring that back to the board at a future time. So again, this amends our current lease. We would be leasing additional space for our current employees and consultants working on the bond program. And should we determine we want to move forward with purchase, we'll bring that back to the board at a separate time. With that, I recommend board approval.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on this item? So moved.
Second.
By trustee Jamison, second by trustee Milgram. Any questions or discussion? Colleagues, good. Seeing none. Student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? And the item passes unanimously. Now we go to 1515.
Item 1515 is a change order in excess of 10% of the initial contract price for the West City expansion project. During the design phase of this project, as we heard from all of the faculty and stakeholders in the building and what their needs were, determined that we wanted to increase the scope of the building design in order to fully support the academic programs that would occur in that campus. The amount of the change order is $1,100,038, $627. Recommend the board approve this to meet the design needs for this building.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on this item?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by trustee Nieto Senior, second by trustee Milgram. Any discussion? Seeing none, student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? The item passes unanimously. Now we're gonna do the next ones all together. Chancellor.
Yes, I recommend the board consider items 1516, 1517, and 1518 in a single action. These are all updates on emergency actions. Starting first with 1516 here at our district office. As you saw, moving between this office and our closed session, repairs have been completed on the water leak we had behind a drinking fountain up on the 3rd floor. We're awaiting final invoices to fully close it out, but the total cost is $92,726. And the hydration stations have been installed and the wallpaper has all been reapplied. Item 1517 is the water leak from a sink overflow in the Math and Science building at Mesa College. The damaged drywall and linoleum floors were demolished and removed. New drywall has been installed. We're waiting on final invoices. The final total of the project is $702,778. And item 1518 is the repair of the failed HVAC coils at the V building at City College. There are 2 units there. One unit has been fully restored to operation. The second unit is operating at about 70% efficiency, expecting to have it fully restored by the end of August. The estimated total cost of this will be $102,000. I'll have further updates at our next meeting. Recommend the board's approval of those 3 items.
Thank you, Chancellor. May I have a motion and a second on these 3 items? Moved by trustee Magana. Second by trustee Jamison. Any discussion? Seeing none. Student trustee, do you have anything to add and how do you vote?
Not at this time, Board President. My vote is aye.
Thank you. Will the board members please vote? Thank you. And the items pass unanimously. Thank you. Seeing no further business, and if there are no objections, I would like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Eric Washington, the loved one of our colleague Mariah Jamison. During a 4th of July neighborhood block party filled with children and families, Eric was attempting to de-escalate a conflict when his life was tragically taken alongside Mia or Genevieve Jenkins, a 19-year-old aspiring nurse. A dedicated public servant, Eric was a community organizer, a staffer for former Los Angeles City Council member Joe Buscaino, and Assembly member Mike A. Gibson, and a pivotal part of the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles and its What's Rising initiative. He was a graduate of El Camino Compton College with an associate's degree in political science, the University of North Texas with a bachelor's degree in political science with a concentration in constitutional law, and Grambling State University with a master's degree in public administration. Eric was a true advocate for his community and worked to support and uplift others. His commitment to helping people and creating positive change will not be forgotten. Please join me in a brief moment of silence to remember them and to hold our colleague in our thoughts. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned in Eric Washington's honor.